Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya. Shababa Radhikacharya Siswadesi Bhaktivinoda Samsara Prabhupada Ki Jai Namachar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Govida Shama Kunda Radha Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadiptam Ki Jai Gangamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, chapter 66, verse 7. Sri Sukha Uvacha Kattanam Tat Upakanya Ondrak Asalpa Medasa Ugrasen Andaya Sabhya Uchaka Jaha Sustada. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sukadeva Goswami said, Kattanam, boasting, Tat, that, Upakarnya, hearing, Paundrakasya. Paundraka, Alpa, small, Medasa, whose intelligence. Ugrasenadaya, headed by King Ugrasena. Sabya, members of the assembly. Uchakai, loudly. Jahasu, laughed. Tada, then. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, King Ugrasena and the other members of the assembly laughed loudly when they heard this vain boasting of unintelligent Paundraka. The personality of Godhead, after enjoying the jokes of that assembly, told the messenger to relay a message to his master. You fool, I will indeed let loose the weapons you boast of in this way. Purport, the Sanskrit word utsrakshe means I will hurl, throw, let loose, abandon, etc. Foolish Paundraka demanded that Lord Krishna give up his powerful weapons, such as the disc and the club. And here the Lord replies, Utsrakshe muda chennai. Yes, fool, I will indeed let loose these weapons when we meet on the battlefield. In Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada nicely describes this scene as follows. When all the members of the royal assembly, including King Ugrasena, heard this message sent by Paundraka, they laughed very loudly for a considerable time. After enjoying the loud laughter of all the members of the assembly, Krishna replied to the messenger as follows. O messenger of Paundraka, you may carry my message to your master. He is a foolish rascal. I directly call him a rascal and I refuse to follow his instructions. I shall never give up the symbols of Vasudeva, especially my disc. I shall use this disc to kill not only King Paundraka, but all his followers also. I shall destroy this Paundraka and his foolish associates, who merely constitute a society of cheaters and the cheated. The personality of Godhead, for enjoying the jokes of the assembly, told the messenger to relay a message to his master. You fool, I will indeed let loose the weapons you boast of in this way. So, in the previous verses there, through the messenger, Paundraka had demanded that you give up the weapons of Vasudeva, because Paundraka himself was Vasudeva. Of course, the word can mean give up, to give to somebody else, etc., and that's the sense that Paundraka used. However, in reply, Krishna says, yes, I will give them up in another sense. I will shoot them at you. I will release them. I will release them. I will release my Sudarshan Chakra in the battle and kill you. So in other words, he uses more or less a pun, repeating the words of Paundraka in another way. So just as the very words in the message had another meaning, as Vishnu Chakravarti explains, when Paundraka boasts that the weapons of the Lord actually belong to him, so you give them up. So here also the other words of Paundraka, when he says you give up your weapon, here Krishna gives that another meaning. Yes, I will release them and I will kill you with them. So this whole scene is one of not fear, which was the intention of Paundraka, to instill fear in Krishna and demand from him his weapons. Rather, it created the opposite, laughter. So this verse here says they laughed very loudly. The whole assembly laughed very loudly when they heard this message So this was, we can say, natural. One, because it was so ridiculous. Someone imitating the Supreme Lord. It is impossible to do. So therefore, it will be very comical when someone tries to do that, because whatever he does, he can never compare with the Supreme Lord. So later we see how on the battlefield, Pondaraka had his second set of arms and his weapons, which were just material things that he had produced, like an actor would have. And nothing compared to the real weapons and the forearms of the Supreme Lord. So, in other words, whatever he tries to do is something that can be laughed at. Very, very comical. And the other reason of the laughter is that he was quite serious in saying, okay, these belong to me, and give out your position, surrender to me, etc. He was very serious. But at the same time, for the Yadus who accepted Krishna as Supreme Lord, this was ridiculous. How could it be? No one can take the place of the Supreme Lord. So therefore they laughed in this way. Another laughter is laughter in mockery. Or sarcasm or whatever. We may laugh at a person to indicate or criticize the person. So the slight hint of that is also there, because here it talks about how Pondaraka was alpamedasa, very unintelligent. He had very little intelligence. In other words, he was a fool. And that was manifested by his words and his demand to the Supreme Lord. So therefore, this in one sense an aparad, to offend the Lord by trying to take his place and demanding from the Lord that he surrender. Therefore, they laughed in mockery as well. This is completely improper, not the proper thing to do at all, and therefore you're a great fool and an offender. So this response was spontaneous. Immediately after the messenger had read out the message, then everybody laughed. Just because of their own position and understanding of Krishna and the position of Pondaraka, they understood his foolishness. So everybody spontaneously laughed very loudly. And normally, of course, to laugh loudly is not very polite. Nevertheless, they could not contain themselves, and they laughed very loudly. It is said here. We see when, Duryodhana was in the palace, and he was mistaking the water for the land and the land for the water, etc. Then the queens, they were giggling and laughing, so he got very offended by that. So often laughter will create hatred or whatever, or anger in the person who hears it. Fortunately, Pondaraka was not personally present. Only his messenger was there, but they could not help but laugh in this case, which would normally be impolite or whatever. But they could not contain themselves because of the situation and the ridiculous demand that Pondaraka had made. So the Lord spoke, and then he just cleverly spoke to reply, in one sense, agree with Pondaraka. Yes, I will give up the weapons. I will release them. I will release them, and then I will kill you with them. So instead of surrendering to Pondaraka, the opposite. He challenged him. So the nature of the Lord is he has no fear. And this is natural to the Lord because he is supreme. He has all power and strength. He has all shaktis. He has all knowledge. No one can defeat him. So what is the question of fear of anyone? So when an enemy makes a demand like this, then the Lord is fearless. But we see in some cases Krishna seems to act in another way. For instance, when Dwarka was attacked, when Mathura was attacked, then he fled away as if in fear. This was encouraging to the enemy, but then ultimately Krishna was not afraid, and he played many tricks when he did this. So though the Lord is fearless, still sometimes he may act in an opposite way, which may cause confusion for some people. This reaches its extreme situation in Vrindavan. So we see here in the Damodar pastime that Krishna is afraid of Mother Yasoda. She's not even an enemy, and she's a woman. She's not a demon, with lots of weapons or anything. She's just a mother with a stick, and Krishna becomes afraid of her. So it's explained that it is impossible that Krishna can be afraid of anything, because Supreme Lord he's supreme. He has all powers, so it's impossible. And rather the opposite. He creates fear in everybody else. Through the law of karma, he makes everybody in the world suffer. He punishes everybody. So how can the Lord be afraid of a stick from Mother Yasoda? Yet he was afraid. So was it imitation fear? No, it was not imitation. It was just imitation fear. Then we can say that he's just pretending to be afraid, and he's pretending to do this for Mother Yasoda, but actually he's different. Then that would also be not proper to make an imitation act, like an actor on the stage for Mother Yasoda. And of course Mother Yasoda is not acting at all, but then Krishna's acting. Then that would not be proper. So actually, he was afraid. He identified completely as a small child, son of Mother Yasoda. And as children, other normal children are, when the mother threatens them, they become afraid. So Krishna had the same response, and he was completely afraid of Mother Yasoda, and he tried to run away, and he was crying, and etc. So this was not a false show at all. It was actual fear that Krishna had. Of course, we can say, in one sense, his tears were a little false. In one sense, he showed tears just to get Mother Yasoda's sympathy. But nevertheless, he had a fear of the stick of Mother Yasoda, as a small child would. So this happens when, in the form of Krishna, as a small child in Vrindavan. He assumes a very opposite nature. And instead of being the Supreme Lord who is fearless and defeats everyone, he appears to be exactly the opposite, and he's afraid of Mother Yasoda. However, we see with the demons in Vrindavan, opposite. Yes, Krishna kills them very easily. But with the devotees, he has the opposite tendency, and particularly with his parents. So in Vatsalya rasa, Krishna is inferior, and the parents are superior. So it's we can say an unbalanced relationship, where the parents are above Krishna and they have more power, and Krishna is powerless. That itself creates a certain type of rasa, which we call Vatsalya, where the parents feel they have to protect Krishna because he is powerless. And it's very intense. In fact, in terms of intensity, Vatsalya rasa is next to Madhurya rasa. In that role, then, Krishna is bound to feel fearful, etc., because the parents are superior. In Sakya rasa, they're equal. boys are equal with Krishna, more or less. Some a little bit more superior, like Balaram, a little superior, or a little younger, but more or less equal. So that type of relationship is not there so much. We don't see it. They play as friends only. But with elders, then Krishna shows that fear in some cases. Though that is there, at the same time, because he is the Supreme Lord, ultimately nothing can harm him. But for rasa, in relation to the devotees, to create great bliss, then he becomes fearful or whatever, as in the case of Damodar pastime. So, in any case, by nature, of course, Krishna is Supreme Lord, and that he shows more distinctly in Dwarka and in these incidents like this, where there are challenges to Krishna and his position by the demons. And then Krishna naturally assumes his position as the Supreme Lord and exhibits all of his powers, and he identifies himself as Supreme Lord, being all-powerful. And the people, the yadus, accept that. So he doesn't have to hide it in any way or repress it. So it's natural for him to manifest his powers in Dwarka, because the people admire those powers. So just as he hides his powers or covers his powers in Vrindavan, so in Dwarka they naturally manifest. And in doing so, the people feel their particular rasa. The yadus appreciate Krishna assuming that supreme position and manifesting his powers. And their dasya rasa becomes quite prominent because of that. They experience bliss because of the relationship where Krishna is the all-powerful master. So, according to the situation, then Krishna may show his powers or hide his powers or whatever. So here he is showing his powers, and he takes up the challenge of Pondraka. Added to that, of course, we have another factor that is virya, prowess. This becomes a secondary rasa. There's different types of this rasa. It's called usaha rasa. This is the Yuddha Vira section. This display of courage in battle. Sometimes the enthusiasm is shown to display dharma vira, one who's very enthusiastic to show his dharmic personality or something like that. I think the example given there is when Krishna was born, then Nanda Maharaj was very enthusiastic to give gifts to everybody. So he is showing his dharmic propensity there. So that's another type of the same rasa, but related to dharma. Here Krishna manifests this fighting enthusiasm, which is natural to Kshatriya, especially. And of course, it naturally manifests when Krishna shows himself as Supreme Lord and as the ruler here in Dwarka. And when he does this, then, and he makes this statement and he challenges without fear Pondraka, then all of the yadus are very blissful. They derive their rasa from this. His display of virya makes them feel very affectionate for Krishna. Therefore, in this incident, we'll find a display of Krishna's powers, which not only satisfies Krishna, but also satisfies the devotees. So here, the devotees are enlivened by Krishna showing his powers, But of course, through this, they understand their own position as his servant. And also, they relish his virya in relation to Pondraka. That he challenges Pondraka to a duel. So this increases their admiration because of this display of virya. Krishna himself, of course, also experiences rasa with the Yadus, but he also has a rasa with Pondraka. But it's not a real rasa in the sense because real rasas are based on affection. So there's a display of virya when Nrsimhadev kills Hiranyakasipu and tears him apart, and he's very angry. But it's not a real bhakti rasa because it's not based on affection. So here also, in relation to Pondraka, who's a demon, it's not the real rasa because it's not based upon affection. So it's like an upa rasa or something like that, secondary aspect of rasa. But it is for Krishna. It is also a feeling directed towards the demon, or because of the demon, we can say. So the demon is the cause of him displaying that virya rasa. But it is explained the real virya rasa is in relation with devotees. So an example is given in how that can be, how you can fight with a devotee and display the virya. That sounds strange. But then it's explained that in Vrindavan, Krishna fights with the cowherd boys. And it's based upon affection. So that virya rasa is a real virya rasa, based upon sakya rasa. So sakya rasa is the main rasa, virya is the secondary rasa. When Krishna or Balaram or Sudama, they fight together and they display their courage and whatever like that. So it's based upon the primary rasa. So that's not the case here in displaying this rasa with Pondraka. It is a little different. Similarly with Kamsa, Krishna fighting with and killing Kamsa again, not a direct a primary rasa, or not even a real secondary rasa, because it's with the demon. And many other cases we also see. Nevertheless, it is an aspect of rasa. And through that, the devotees also get some sort of rasa by the display of virya of the Supreme Lord towards the demon. Then the devotees also get a positive experience, and it nourishes their rasa. So, in other words, when Krishna fights with the demon and displays his virya rasa, then the devotees, they experience a rasa with the Lord, and they appreciate his virya rasa, and that increases their affection for the Lord. In this way we have a variety of rasas expressed here, some with the devotees, some with the demon, Pondraka here, and that mixes together. And all of this creates variety within their relationship. And that variety in the relationship creates bliss. Though demons are not favorable to the Lord and they have to be annihilated, these are opportunities for the Lord to increase rasa with the devotees, because in dealing with the demons, etc., then the devotees develop their rasa with the Lord more, and they develop more affection and bliss in relation to the Lord, because it reveals the Lord's wonderful qualities. Therefore, we can appreciate all of these different incidents with the Supreme Lord and the demons, and because they do increase the rasa between the Lord and the devotees.
Here the word kathanam, boasting of, is used.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that Pondraka was only boasting of, and he was not as powerful as Bharati. Krishna's fighting with him. What is the need of that? Krishna would have just brushed him aside, just as Vaishnavas do neglect people. Would have neglected him, then would have gone.
Well, of course, kathanam, or this boasting, is also a symptom within virya rasa itself. when you're fighting with a person and you challenge him and you say, "Oh, you're a weak person, I'm very strong," and you threaten him and you wave your hands, etc., like this, and you utter words of scorn and criticize the other person. This is all part of katanam, one symptom of virya rasa, or the hero or whatever like that, when he's displaying his qualities like that. So it's typical for kshatriyas especially. You will see Bhima will boast or whatever like this, and he'll criticize the enemy like this. So not only the enemies do this, even the devotees will do this when they're fighting with the demons. They will also boast or whatever. In this case, of course, it is completely misplaced because it is offensive, because it is directed towards the Supreme Lord, or even if it's against devotees, it's offensive. So obviously not the proper thing to do. But because he's a demon and he doesn't see the Lord as the Lord or the devotees as anyone as special, then it's permissible for him from his point of view. Though from the devotee's point of view, it is offensive.
He gives examples. So how are there scriptural examples or perfect devotees showing rasabas? How can they?
Yeah, rasabas. Well, usually you'll see the examples of rasabas given. Some are real rasabas, and there's rasabas with exceptional cases within them, which may be done by devotees or whatever. And therefore it's not real rasabas. It looks like rasabas, but it's an exceptional case. So in that case, the devotees are given. Rasabas, which is real, he gives examples of, let's say, when an impersonalist expresses some sort of idea of rasa, then it's imperfect because of or a poet expresses rasa. It's not quite proper because within like Shanta rasa, he'll express Madhurya rasa or something like that. So that's a rasabas. So for ignorant people, impersonalists or others, poets or whatever, they may express themselves out of enthusiasm, but actually it's not proper. So that's the real rasabas where it takes place. And I think it was Ramananda who would filter all the poetry that came to Lord Chaitanya because he was looking for rasabas, because not all the poets are perfect and they would, not represent things properly.
So pure devotee can never really show.
No. So it may look like rasabas, but then there's exceptional cases where it's permitted.
Find this word. When a person sees another funny situation or something and reads a joke, he laughs. But also laughing is used for criticizing others also.
Yeah.
But if this is the opposite, crying when we lose something, we cry. Dear ones. How can we compare this spiritual world? Like you said, when somebody laughs at me, I may think he's criticizing me. What are the signs of laughing and crying?
Well, that's another rasa, hasya. Secondary rasa, hasya rasa, comedy, which is, maybe we could say in the material world we have the rasas, so that's also one of the rasas in drama. We have comedies and tragedies. Tragedies make you cry, and comedies make you laugh. So there's laughter, which is appreciated as an aspect of the human being. So therefore we have dramas which are comedies, and they present comical characters, and they make us laugh also. So in the spiritual world also, we have these two aspects. We have the crying aspect and we have the laughing aspect as well. You have the hasya rasa and we have the karuna rasa, which is very pitiful. But the difference is that in the spiritual world, these are secondary rasas based upon the primary rasas of love. In the material world, they can be completely separate and not based upon love at all. So therefore, they're imperfect in the material world. And the hasya may also be filled with hatred or whatever like this, whereas in the spiritual world isn't. And the crying is actually a feeling of pain. In the spiritual world, the crying is sometimes a symptom of joy or a pain in separation, which is also part of prema itself, part of bliss. So the appearance is similar, but it's actually quite different when Krishna and the devotees manifest these symptoms.
We find some mentally retarded or mentally not sound people. They keep laughing. They don't have any just stand in one zone and without even...
Yeah, of course. We can say that in the material world, a person who is completely, not so much sentient or conscious of his surroundings, will be very happy and may laugh at anything. But that is, we can say, is a defect because he's not fully conscious. So in the spiritual world, the laughter is based upon a particular situation, which creates a ridiculousness or whatever. And it's a part of the rasa itself, of an affectionate rasa. In the material world, when a fool laughs, then it's out of ignorance.
Why are you laughing at me? And that starts with a small fight and some bigger fight.
Well, yeah, that is laughter in the sense of criticism or mockery, which is something in the material world. Laughter to indicate the foolishness of another person or whatever. So this is, we can say, part of material consciousness based upon identification with bodies and lust, anger, greed, etc. So the comedy of the material world, in some sense, is related to material identity, but in the spiritual world, not so. So it's all based upon that affectionate relationship. So there's none of the negative qualities of the laughter in the material world. How should a devotee respond when he is tormented by material position of another devotee, which means what, he's envious of another's? Tormented by material position of another devotee. Why we should be tormented by someone's material position? If the material position is material, then for a devotee it should be useless anyway. So why we should be tormented by it? So envy may give rise to that. And envy itself, again, is another material sentiment, that we have material attachments and we see somebody else is getting more enjoyment, so we want that enjoyment. So therefore, we hate the devotee or the other person because he has more enjoyment, material enjoyment than I do. So that's, again, fully material.
Maharaj, what is the difference between pratikulyasya vivarjanam, and phalgu vairagya?
Oh, yeah, to reject what is unfavorable for the advancement of bhakti. So anything which is unfavorable, which does not help us advance and develop more attraction for Krishna, we can reject that, naturally. Any obstacle to bhakti, we reject. Phalgu vairagya means to give up anything, activity or object that can be useful in worshiping the Lord. So we won't touch flowers because they have a fragrance and it's maya, whatever. But we can offer flowers to the Lord. So that phalgu vairagya said we're not going to look at flowers anymore because there's sense gratification. Use them for the Lord, fine, no problem. So phalgu vairagya means we just give up things because we don't see how we can connect them at all to the Supreme Lord. That's phalgu vairagya.
And pratikulyasya vivarjana, wouldn't it be vidyachari, so which as Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, that he is attracted to that object, but he rejects because it is unfavorable?
No, anything unfavorable for bhakti we avoid. For instance, we avoid asatsanga. So, how we can criticize avoiding asatsanga? It damages bhakti, so therefore we must avoid it. So this other mityachara means that though we may renounce externally, internally we're enjoying an object. That's all that means. So here when we talk about pratikulasya varjana, rejecting what is unfavorable, we're not pretending anything or rejecting on one level but enjoying on the other level.
And Maharaj, this ninth offense of preaching to faithless, we see that Nityananda Prabhu was also trying to preach to Jaga and Madai chant.
Oh yeah. So though we say that you don't preach to the faithless person, that's a general principle, at least we let them hear the holy name. That much we should do. That's the general principle. Then we have cases of Nityananda or others who may even preach to the unfaithful persons. So by their great Shakti, they're able to accomplish something even in that case. So there are exceptional cases as well. Yeah.
Now in ISKCON we always preach the faithless person. Most of the people from faithless.
Huh?
We preach.
What's that?
Now in ISKCON,
Yeah.
we always preach the faithless person.
Well, generally we avoid those persons who are hostile.
But still they prashadam and
We can give prasadam. We can let them hear the holy name. We should not tell them, "Oh, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead," offer flowers to the Lord. If they hate the Lord, how we can do that? But we can let them hear the holy name, give them prasadam. That's how we preach to them.
General understanding of the virya rasa, with regard to the virya rasa, the general understanding is only when there is a true enmity between one another, the real rasa can manifest. On the contrary, we see here Marathi, the true rasa Maharaj said, which is the devotees themselves or the Gopas themselves. How to understand?
What is that?
The true virya rasa is manifested when there is an enmity towards one another, generally.
Well, in the material world. Yeah.
But here the Maharaj just said that it is all the true virya rasa manifest amongst the Gopa friends and the
Well, not in the material world. Also, there are wrestling matches and so many things, which is not real enmity. It's just that one team plays against the other, cricket match or whatever. All these things, that. So it's not real enmity. It's a play. So that's what happens in the spiritual world. It's all play, and then within that they have their virya.
I don't remember.